All right, folks, Morphy's Games of Chess continues with game 43. Morphy's back's against the wall against Harvitz. He dropped the first two games. We got the third match game coming up right here, held in September of 1858. So it's going to be tough. Morphy's got to turn it around. Let's see how he does it. Harvitz has the white pieces. D4. And last time Morphy answered, they went into a Queen's Gambit declined. He doesn't like it. He doesn't like it, folks. So what does Morphy do here against the D-pawn? He whips out the Dutch defense, one of his key openings, a favorite for Morphy. He's not playing around, folks. He's going for broke. He's playing for the win. Here we go. Harvitz takes the center. Common, D4, C4, queen-pawn game. Here we go. Morphy, E6. All right. The knights come out. And look at this. Harvitz pins Morphy's knight. Pins it to the queen. Common move here. It's played. Is bishop E3, breaking the pin right away. But here, Morphy more aggressive. Look at this guy. Pinning the queen knight. Yeah, I could do it, right? I could do it too. Harvitz, here he goes. He pins the queen knight to the king. An absolute pin, folks. Absolute pin versus Harvitz, pin of the knight to the queen. The knight can move. It would be suicidal, of course. But you got an absolute pin. An absolute pin. You cannot break the rules of chess. The knight on C3 cannot move. Can't expose your king to the danger, right? But no big deal. Here we go. What's going on? I just figured I'd bring out the terminology, folks. We got everything. We got everything here. We got the jokes. We got terminology. We got tactics and attacks. All right, here we go. So now we got the bishops pinning all over the place. All right, so now Harvitz doesn't like that guy over there. He brings the queen right out. What are you going to do, tough guy? He's putting a question to him with the queen. All right, so here we go. Morphy with a good move here. C5. C5 by Morphy. Right? You get that pawn up fighting in the center. See? You don't want to, for instance, if you bring the knight out to defend the bishop, well, now your C-pawn can't get in the mix, This is a key soldier in the battle in the D-pawns. You got to hit that center, that D-pawn. So this is right away. Now, if they trade, I don't know, let's put the engine on. Harvitz doesn't do this. But, you can capture, right? You're not like there you go. See, Shredder likes that move. It's not like you're just, throwing a pawn away. And now, what you're doing, actually, is you're diverting one of White's key soldiers in the center. These pawns they're little dinky soldiers, right? But they play a big role in controlling the center, folks. I've said it once before. The center is where all the action is. You control the center, you control the game. So you got a wing pawn, right? A C pawn influence a main pawn, the D pawn in the center, controlling right now the E5 square, right? Well, now when he takes, look at that. You're taking away some of White's control of the center. And now Black has his E and D pawn still, which could move up and control that center, folks. So, Black's doing good like this. So, anyway, that's just a little strategic point, okay? Instead of bringing the knight first, in queen-pawn games, you want to usually get that C-pawn to influence the the D-pawn over there for White. You're fighting in the center. Okay, so anyway, he doesn't take. Harvitz knows not to take. You see Shredder? Develop the piece, folks. Develop the piece. Now, you're not going to take because now you just hung your bishop. You see that? You just hung your bishop. Yet look at Shredder wants to take the pawn instead. Okay, obviously. All right, he's running his million moves a second. Here he is. He finally saw it. Okay? He finally saw it. Took him a while, though, huh? All right, so anyway, there's the jokes, folks, right? You got to admit, that's pretty ridiculous. But anyway, there you go. Shredder with an idea if you're playing White. There you go, right? Here's what they say. Here's a move that the old masters say. I'll give you the footnotes to C5 by Morphy. This move seems to upset White for he replies wrongly, letting black secure his center. Pawn to e3 was correct. Okay, so the old masters like your e3 move. Shredder's going in with knight f3. Either one's playable, right? So look at what Horvitz does, though. Horvitz advances. He advances his d pawn up to d5. Okay, and what does it say? Again, I'll read it. This move seems to upset white, for he replies wrongly, letting black secure his center. Right? What does he do? What does Morphy do, folks? He advances to e5. Now, Morphy has his two pawns influencing the center. But on the king side, right, he's grabbed the e4 square. And over here, g4 is on the wings. Okay. But now you got the e5 pawn moving up, controlling f4 and d4. You get it? So now it's Morphy securing his center. All right. Horvitz doesn't challenge this at all. What he does right now is he plays what Shredder would play. Right there, e3. He plays e3. And, all right, Shredder likes to secure that center right away. Right, the e pawn. But Morphy decides to castle first. Development for Morphy. You know, no dinky pawn moves. Development. All right, e3 was played for a reason. Now Horvitz develops his king bishop to d3. And now we got Morphy. Okay, so now he brings up d6. Okay, securing that e5 pawn. There you go. Now the pawns are starting to solidify in the center, right? Morphy controlling key squares. You got Horvitz controlling e6 over here, right, with his d pawn. But you know, it's well, we're gonna have to see. Can he utilize that square at this moment, right? Let's see what he can do. Let's see how it develops. Can he get a piece to that outpost? Well, we're gonna find out. Here we go. Here comes the knight to e2. All right, Morphy, like Shredder, he likes to hit the bishop now. Here you go, folks. What's going to happen here? What if he pulls back the bishop? Do you see the mistake in that? Well, Shredder knows. Look, you pull it. He backs up. Okay, they trade, and look at this. Your bishop's trapped, folks. He's a dead duck, all right? So, all right, white likes the castle. You take the piece. All right, he opens the H file. Okay, he opens the H file, and what is it? What's the count here? We got, all right, white lost a bishop for a pawn, right? Not too good. Now he's got the open H file. He's got the bishop over here on d3. The king bishop aiming on the light square, diagonal down to the black king side. The queen's on the wrong wing. You know, he's gonna need a couple of moves to get it over there to attack. But it look at the evaluation, the engine over here. You can see to the right. You see it says negative 1.26. Well, it's over a pawn, folks. So could be an interesting game if white could get that attack, but I don't think so, folks. I don't think he's going to get it. But anyway, that's a whole other game, and I take black in a heartbeat. All right? I like those chances. Being black and you got this much of an advantage, over a one advantage, right? So, I mean, heck, you're up a piece for a pawn, folks. A piece for a pawn. Just start swapping them down. Just start swapping them all the way down. You go in an endgame, you're up a piece. Okay, that's the basic idea. But here you go, right? Horvitz knows he's what did I say? Let me read it again, folks. He was the undisputed king at the Cafe del Regents. I don't know. I'll try to get that right before this match is over. But anyway, he's not going to take the knight, folks. I mean, he's not going to back off. He's not going to lose a piece for a pawn. He takes the knight. All right, I know you want to get this one going. Here we go. Morphy taken back with the queen. All right, so now what does Horvitz do? He challenges Morphy's bishop. And Morphy takes the knight with check. All right, Horvitz doesn't double the pawns up. He figures, all right, he takes with the queen. There you go. Queen, Shredder likes taking with the queen. Horvitz the same. All right, Morphy, let's see. After the queen takes, Morphy adjusts his queen, hitting the G pawn over there, right? Queen to G6, attacking the G pawn. interesting. You know, I thought, what if he castled this way? Would he be dumb enough to take this and open the G file? You know, then now you got the open G file aiming at your own king. I don't know. Whole different game. If he does castle, look, Shredder doesn't even like to take the pawn at this stage. So maybe that is dangerous, you know. You don't want to open up. Look, sometimes you gotta weigh it, folks. You're winning a pawn, but it's a dinky wing pawn. It's not like you're winning a pawn in the center. Lasker used to say, Emmanuel Lasker, the center pawns are worth a little more than those wing pawns because they control the center squares. Grabbing wing pawns could be dangerous, especially if you're opening up a clear, you know, avenue of attack to your own king. So this is why even Shredder, you know, the Silicon Monster can even sense that, I guess, that danger, right? They claim that these computers have no feelings, but hey, it's saying to play this, right? Chip away at the queen side over there. Maybe open it up for your attack on the white king. All right, but oh wait, he's saying to grab it, folks. Look at this. He's saying to grab it. Silicon Monster can sense no dangers, right? Has no feelings. Could be a problem down the road. He gets material, but it could be opening up a vicious attack down the line. So anyway, all right. What does Harvitz do after Morphy's queen to G6? Well, Shredder likes it too at this point. Look at this. He castles right into it. All right. He castles over there. And now you got Morphy. Let's see. Shredder's seeing the knight coming out. What move was that? 13. Sorry, folks. I lost my place. All right. Yes, the knight. Okay. The knight developed a piece. Okay. Knight to D7. And here Harvitz plays expansion on the queen side. Okay. So it says, it is noteworthy how Morphy takes advantage of the weakness of White's C-pawn following on this. A weakness still more evident after bishop takes knight on move 18 and pawn takes pawn on move 19. Okay, let's see how it develops. Morphy's going to zone in on this C-pawn, the pawn on C4. Let's see. What he does is he backs up his C-pawn. Okay. Here, Harvitz plays, not Shredder's saying to play F4. All right. Let's not confuse the issue right now. Just stay with this game. Harvitz likes playing F3, and Morphy plays H5, right? Now this, it says here by the old masters, the advice here says to prevent pawn to G5 and ready to drive the knight from G3 if need be. See, if the knight comes up, bam, you hit him back. You hit him back at this stage. See that? So you're trying, a very strategic idea that's common. You don't let that knight, you see White's knight, you don't let him post up, get a good outpost anywhere. You keep him back. It's one little strategic idea to keep in your back pocket. If you're playing against your opponent, not sure what the plan should be, try to keep his minor pieces, especially the knights, try to keep them awkward, folks, in the back. Don't let him get up into the battle, posting up, So this is an interesting, see, if he comes here, you hit him away, and he can't advance. He can't take here. You got it covered. You'd give up 2 pieces for the rook, okay? Just check the engine. Let's do. I don't want to misguide anybody. I didn't look at this position. If he's dumb enough to take, right? There's no tactical follow-up to this, right? Okay, there you go. That's fine. You take the 2 minor pieces for the rook. Okay, now, at this stage, you see the knight has nowhere to go. Hey, look at that. Hey, look, he goes back. I guess he's gonna come here, and he's gonna try to maybe post up and take this square. Push. See, he'll come here. He'll push F4. He'll jump. He'll jump. You understand? This is the idea. No way would you want to just leave your knight there. It's to reroute it, But again, you got to try to keep your opponent's pieces from getting good squares. Okay, so anyway, after this, The other point of h5 they say is to prevent h4. But, you know, when I looked at this with Shredder, let's say, all right, Shredder likes this too, basically to keep the knight back, I think is the whole idea of that. But let's just throw in a move, right? You go over here. Well, now, sure enough, the knight comes up, right? And anyway, I don't see any sense to this. I mean, you know, don't you just take, all right, you can't take because of this, right? All right, so look, you reposition the queen, threatening to take here, right, with check. So now, okay, now you're going to threaten to take those pawns. He can't take you. It's pinned, folks, right? The g-pawn's pinned. He goes there to defend. Now you take. And what just happened? What just happened here? Pushes up. Right? You don't take, right? You can't take here. And then you move back. And the file's opened. I guess Shredder likes it this way. He likes pulling the queen back first. Either way, folks, look, it's, you know, it's anybody's game at this point. I don't see any sense to g4. You're just opening up, exposing your own king, right? I mean, white doesn't gain anything from that move. The whole concept, I think, is to keep the knight back. That's the idea of, let's take back the silly move we did here. He plays f3. And Morphy plays h5. White plays f3. Morphy plays h5 to stop the knight. Okay. I know I'm getting a little too much into it, folks. But, you know, I hope I'm clearing up so you understand the moves, why they're being made, you know, as best I can. So anyway, now you got Harvard's pulling the bishop back to c2. All right. Morphy developing his bishop to b7. Off the back rank, linking up those rooks. And look at this. The maneuver to c2 was to bring the bishop over here. Bishop a4, attacking the knight. Morphy, now, Shredder likes this, but Morphy drops the queen back to defend the knight. And here we go, folks. This was the other footnote. Question mark to Harvard's. He takes the knight. Much stronger was bishop to c6 over here, but I don't know about this move, folks, either. This is by Morphy. He says much stronger was bishop to c6. I don't know. I don't see it, folks. The knight comes here, right? That's so that the queen could defend the bishop if they swap. You know, I don't know. Where does it go from here? Whole other game. Well, block it up. He solidifies this guy in there. Maybe that's the idea. You get, you know, now if you ever take, now he's got a protected pass pawn, folks. He's got a protected pass pawn. There might be some logic to what Morphy's saying then. Maybe that makes sense, right? Because now that bishop's a thorn. He's in a nice outpost. And if you don't take, you know, if you take, look at that. See, I guess now it's coming, now it's clear. If you defend and he comes here, Shredder's move, right? Doesn't matter. Once he gets to solidify this with two pawns, it guarantees that no matter whenever you take, you got it. White's got a pass pawn, right? Protected pass pawn. Very key. It's a protected pass pawn. The pawn on d5 protects the c6 pawn. So that's an end game ace up the sleeve, you know. So if he ends up taking now, the pawn takes and it hits the knight. Black's got no time to, you know, do anything else but save his knight, which allows him to secure that pass pawn. Now, the b5 pawn protects him. If you try to undermine him, I'm sure you're gonna solidify that guy. See how it works? All right, he likes to open up the a file. There you go. See, and the c pawn remains protected. Endgame advantage for white. So, you know, I see the logic behind that. I didn't really look at that before. See? If you take now, you move. I saw Shredder didn't even... Shredder, look at this, attacking the d pawn first. Doesn't even play b5 yet. to solidify the protected pass pawn. Or he goes after the F pawn. Look at this. Undefended F pawn. All right, so, you know, he's chiseling away at black now. Look, attacking the F5 pawn, forcing this, hitting this one. Look at this. Already hits this guy. He moves back. Now he takes, look, now he takes B5. He takes B5 under control. And even now, folks, maybe he could play it and take back like this if he wants, right? But he prefers, he gets the protected pass C pawn still, right? But he likes attacking D6. So as you see, we're getting sucked right in, folks. I'm getting sucked right in. But very, very interesting. Whole other game, whole other fight. But I think if you notice, in most of these moves, right, that transpire after bishop takes C6, Morphy's, line, bishop to C6, if black takes, it's white who's making the moves, and then black is having to respond to white. White has the initiative, folks. He's calling the shots. He's steering this game. It's as if he's got the step on black. That's what you want. In the Morphy style and pretty much in all your chess games, you want to try to be dictating the game and having your opponent have to answer you. And that's where you have the initiative. And when you're a tactician, an attacking player, that's what you want, folks. Because sooner or later, their move is going to be a blunder. Or he's going to get tied up in knots and you get the advantage. All right, so anyway, there you go. Morphy with bishop C6 was the idea. Very interesting. Okay, Morphy, the master back in the day. Very instructive. Okay, so anyway, he ends up taking the knight. Question mark. Morphy takes. And now the next move, they give a question mark. From the previous note, they give pawn takes pawn. Pawn takes pawn. Now, okay, Morphy takes back with the knight pawn. Don't want to give white a protected pass D pawn. You don't want to do that, folks, right? You take back here. Okay. All right. Morphy hits the E pawn. Horvitz hits Morphy's E pawn and Morphy advances. He advances to E4. All right, so now the pawns are fixed now. See that? The pawn chains, all the pawns are stuck. Nobody can trade at this stage, right? So the board's starting to get fixed. And to see who has the better outpost and can maneuver better. Here we go. Horvitz taking the B file, attacking down the B file, okay. Morphy now. Remember the footnote? It's very instructive, folks, the rest of this game. Textbook Morphy, great technique. He's going to pile up on this C pawn here. This is strategic chess before strategic chess was even developed, folks. Watch this now. Bishop to A6, putting pressure on the C pawn. Okay? Morphy, Shredder likes to take control of that B pawn. Take control of the B file. I can't even get it out. It's early, folks. Forgive me. All right, but here comes Horvitz. He brings the king rook, which isn't doing anything over here with those pawns fixed. He brings it over to the C file to help protect that C pawn on C4. And look at Morphy attacking, putting more pressure. Queen to A4, put more pressure on that C pawn. Now, the knight is the minor piece. You'd like to, if any piece defending that C pawn, you'd want it to be the knight. Because again, folks, there's no pawns on the B or D file that could protect that pawn. You see, Morphy's attacking that pawn in the back of the pawn chain. It's just two pawns. It's D5 and C4, but it's considered a pawn chain, you see. And he's attacking the base of the pawn chain. This is strategic chess. This is a la Nimzovich, folks. Nimzovich wasn't even playing yet. And here you go, Morphy doing it, folks, right? So now you'd want your minor piece to have to babysit protecting that pawn. You don't want the big guns doing it, but the knight's out of position. So it's pretty awkward. So now here you go. You get the knight swinging here. Morphy hits it. Get out of here, you. Get out of here. We don't want you posting up anywhere, right? So he goes back. He's just repositioning it to come to D2 to what, folks? To protect the C pawn, right? All right. So now Morphy challenging the B file, okay? Here comes Horvitz, bringing the knight to D2, like I said, helping support that backward pawn there, the pawn chain on it's not a backward pawn because there's no open C file, but it's the base of the pawn chain. All right, so anyway, look at Morphy now. I think you'd understand this after a few games we went through, right? What's the point of the rook lift, folks? To double on the B file, and White can't have that done. No way. Right? So, anyway, I want to show you something. If you followed Shredder's advice right here, you see those moves, folks? Look at this. I want you to see something. Look. Watch this. Rook comes up, right? And Shredder decides to move the king, right? So now you do what that rook lift is all about. You double them up, right? Can't have that. You can't have that, folks. You can't have black control in the B file. So you trade, right? Now, if you take with the pawn, right, and then you can push B5 and all that. But say you wanted to take the A file with your rook. Well, now you moved your rook already to B8. And you'd have to move it to A8, right? So you'd have to use another move right now if you wanted to take the A file with that rook. Now get this. And this, what happens in the game, once Morphy takes the rook lift up, right? Horvitz takes it right away. Boom, right? Oh, Morphy has no choice now. He takes with the pawn. And now you got queen to B3. But let's just say, if Morphy wants to defend, you got this by Shredder, right? He can bring it here. And obviously you'd have to because he's attacking your B pawn. But you still, depending on what White does, you still have an option right now to bring the rook to A8 if you wanted to. All right, Shredder's putting the pressure on, so it really kind of transposes. But at this stage right here, Black can have another option if White does something. I don't know, if he does something over here and they trade, right? Now maybe he could take the A file if he wanted to. You understand? He's got another option. It might not even be as good, but the point being, these are like little tempos and little things, avenues. The way you manipulate the position, you know, it could be, we're talking hair of a fraction better for Black. He's got another option. You don't want to give your opponent other options. Okay, so White would have this move anyway. Okay, I didn't see it the last time I looked at this, else I probably wouldn't have even mentioned it. Okay, because it would just transpose anyway. But since I was getting into it, there you go. You know, if you could follow that logic there. You don't want to give your opponent multiple choices. You want him to always be forced to make a move so you could calculate off of it. It's easier for you, you understand? And you could keep calculating down to where you can maybe see a trap or some advantage you could grab, right? That's how, if he's got many options, the tree of evaluations grows bigger and bigger. So you don't want that. That's the whole secret to this game. Limit your opponent's options. All right, anyway, here we go. Let's go. It's a little sidetrack, but here you go. Important sage advice. All right, so anyway, there you go. What's his name? Takes the rook. Morphy takes back. Okay, the queen is offered right here, attacking. He's attacking the b6 pawn and the queen. So, all right, they trade them off. Here we go. Knight takes back. And now Morphy plays this, right? He plays this, b5. Wow, so he's not even winning the pawn, but watch how this opens up for Morphy's advantage here. Look at this. Exclamation point. B5. Okay? Here we go. Pawn takes pawn. Right? Let's go into the old master's notes here. If he does not take but defend with the knight, he defends with the knight, right? Let's say he defends here, right? They're saying rook to A8, folks. Where did he go? To A8. He's not on B8 and then had to move another. You'd be a move behind. You understand? The rook moves in one go. Do you understand? There you go. That might not be available if it played the other way. You understand? Oh boy, I don't know if you do, but maybe I don't even understand it. But anyway, it's just coming to mind. All right, here we go. So you got to. This is what the old masters say. If the knight goes back, the rook could come right here, putting pressure on the A pawn now, right? He takes here. Now you got the A pawn hanging. All right, so he attacks, and who knows where it goes. Look at this outpost. Come on, folks. You got to admit. Look at this, huh? Look at this. I mean, come on. The outpost. Remember what I said? Who's going to be able to utilize the outposts better? Look at this. Bishop on the D3 square, supported by the E4 pawn. Already protects. He got two threats. The rook is attacked, and the pawn on A3 still hanging. He goes to defend. Oh, there you go, folks. There you go. He advances right now. That bishop solidified, folks. What are we talking about? If he trades off the knight, right, he's not going to want to give up the exchange, else that's a different advantage. He goes here to keep A3 protected. Now, what would you want to do? You'd want to get that confounded bishop out of there. Trade the knight. The only piece that could trade, get that bishop off the board, is to swap it with the knight. Once you swap it with the knight, what do you got, folks? You got a protected passed pawn on B3. You see how it works? Endgame advantage. Swap the rooks off and forget it. The black king's got to babysit that guy, the protected passed pawn, and your king can march all over and eat everybody up like Pac-Man. He'll gobble them up. Gobble up the dots, right? So anyway, there you go, right? There's just another sideline to show Morphy's control of this game, right? He can't move the knight back. If he moves the knight back, there you go, right? If he moves the knight here, let's look at that one. If he moves the knight there, right? All right, they're saying to take, knight takes, bishop takes, rook takes. There you go. Here we go. We're on the A pawn. All right. And we got what, folks? He's got a passed A pawn. Okay. And we got a protected passed C5 pawn. See that? We're learning about these protected passed pawns now, folks, right? So here comes the pawn comes up, right? All right. Let's just look at this endgame. This is interesting. They're giving the evaluation. Black is up almost a pawn. There you go. He's up a pawn. 1.02. All right. He marches up. All right. They're going to trade those guys, right? I would think. You swap those guys off. He advances. Okay, he advances. That's the move then. All right, he advances. Let's see how that plays out. You got that pawn way up there. All right, get to keep the king back. Can't come up to G2 and get in the position over there. So the king comes over. What's he gonna come to H5 and push G5, right? Let me guess. Here we go, folks. Look, the king's got to stay over here. He comes all the way up now. Comes all the way up. Why would he do that? He's going to put him in zugzwang or something. But anyway. Yeah, you can't let the king slip into F3. Right? All right, now with the king, let's see. Maybe now he's going to slide him down there. Take the B file. Check on B2. He's starting in that off. So H3 makes sense now because if the rook comes down, he took the B file. If he comes down, he gives a check. The king's got to go back to G1 to protect the H2 pawn. If you swapped them off, it would be a whole different thing. There'd be no weak H pawn back there, vulnerable, right? Here we go. Look, he goes back. He's got to put him right in the corner, folks. Look how he's grabbing the game. Look at this. The rook on the 7th. Now that's why the white rook went back to protect from mate, right? On the back rank. Holy smokes. Who grabbed this game, folks? Holy cow. I'll tell you, like I mentioned in the other games, I'm no endgame expert, okay? But I'm learning a lot. I'm glad I'm going over this stuff. There you go. Going all the way back. I didn't see this in the other lines. So think about that. If you swap over here, now you don't get that predicament, right? Look at the way he grabbed this game, right? He just took this game over. King comes up. All right, he's going to push this time. Maybe that's better, right? So there you go. We could look at it a million ways, right? That was very interesting. Well, let's get back to the actual game, and we'll see how Morphy handles this, right? Because he takes. Harvitz takes. Okay, here we go. Back to the game. Harvitz takes. Move 29. Yes. All right, bishop takes, of course. And now we got knight to a5. Gonna jump to the c6 square, right? Okay. Shredder sees it. Attack that knight. Oh, look at that. He doesn't go here. All right, that would be silly because if you take, now the pawn's dead. It's a dead duck, right? Okay. He's a dead duck. Doesn't matter if he goes there. All right. There you go. So white's black's got these. Now he's got the pass C pawn and it's protected. Forget it. So, all right, he goes to, this is what Harvitz does. He goes to B7. My mistake, folks. I forgot that. All right. So now he's going after the D6 pawn. Morphy protects it with the rook. Only way to do it, right? Only way to protect it. Here comes the bishop. The rook over here now to protect A3. Why do this, folks? Why take and let him take? You see, you go trading pawn for pawn. Now your C pawn's hanging. You see how you could slip up. You got a protected pair C pawn. You got to protect your D pawn, and you're going to put pressure on that A3 pawn later. Don't worry about it, right? You're going to get your king up to protect D6. All right, then your rook could get back in the game. This is only temporary to protect that D6 pawn. All right, so he comes up and protects the A pawn, and now your king's coming over. Like I said, where's that knight going to go, folks? Did you notice that? Where's the knight going to run to right now? He can't go to A5. The only move right now is to D8. Once the king comes to E7, he's trapped, right? So Harvitz jumps the knight. He jumps the knight while he can to D8. Okay, and Morphy brings the bishop back to protect both of these squares, right? If he goes to either of them, let's check it with Shredder. If he goes here, chopped off. Pawn's dead, right? Pawn's dead. If he jumps here, chop him off. Pawn's dead. See that? All right. And what's the evaluation at that point, folks? Almost 2 pawns, right? He's up, right? It's negative 1.68. All right. So that's the idea. Bishop back for Morphy. Okay. Now we got the rook coming over because now he knows he doesn't want to lose a pawn. So he brings the rook over, and here comes the king. King to E7, right? Well, Shredder does this anyway. He likes, I guess, he could get his rook to the 7th and kind of harass, get an active rook. But the king protects the G7 pawn by going F6, okay? And there you go. You still look, -2 for, this is black's game right here to win. All right, so he can't do that. He can't move it. He can't move that knight. So he brings the rook down to defend the knight. That's the only thing he wants to do here without losing material, without losing a pawn. That's all he can really do. But now, folks, he's getting tied up. He's getting tied up. Okay? Look at Shredder. What does he say? Morphy, With c4, the pawn's making a run. Here comes the king. Here comes the pawn. Here comes the king. Morphy chopping off the pawn on a3 now. All right. So we got knight to knight. He can't take it. He can't bear anymore, folks. He goes for it. Knight to c6. Morphy chops him off. The pawn retakes. So now you got past c pawns. It's a race, folks. Here comes the pawn coming up. Let me turn off the engine so you can't cheat here, because there's a beautiful move coming up. All right. So now you got the pawn move to, let's get it straight, the pawn to c2. One move away to touchdown, right, folks? So, Harvitz moves the king to d2. Do you see the move that Morphy makes, folks? It's a winning move. He takes control of this one. It's in the bag, folks. Don't let it slip out of your reach, your grasp. What do, folks? It is the move. Rook to c3. Holy smokes, he lost his mind, right? If he takes, folks, you go in with a queen. He'll go in with a queen with check. Forget it. He moves. Boom. You lost the pawn, too. It's all over. Game over. Forget about it. As a matter of fact, why don't you, if he goes to the B file, you just check over here. He comes up, right? Oh, he can't even come up with the pawn there. And you win the rook, and then you take the pawn next, right? Why even leave that rook on the board? All right, there you go. Either way is a win, but it's more accurate. All right, look at this move, folks. You can't go to c3. You lose your rook. How many would you see? How many of you even saw that, right? I mean, it's simple enough tactically, but hey, you know, we're learning this stuff. How many of you saw that, you beginners, right? Sometimes you got to look for those impossible moves. You can't count out anything like this. This is tactics in the end game, folks. It's crazy, I know. It's crazy, but all right. So anyway, at this stage, right, Harvitz, he falls off the seat. He's like, oh my God, I didn't see this, I guess, right? I wish I was there. I wish I was watching this game, right? A fly on the wall. But here we go. Exclamation point for Morphy. Probably Harvitz on his 38th move overlooked that this fine move of Black's won his pass pawn. Morphy plays the whole ending admirably and shows no sign of discomposure over his bad start in the match. All right, folks, it's a little tongue twister for me here. I'm getting tired. But here we go. So what is Harvitz follow up with this move? All right, well, Morphy's threatening to push the pawn and queen it. He's got rook support now, right? So he's got to stop that guy. Only way is to throw the king to c1 to blockade the pawn. And sure enough, Morphy chops off that c pawn of white. All right, here we go. Here comes Harvitz now on defensive mode. I mean, if he gives the check, right, we just come up. Let's make sure. We go to f6, right? Go put Shredder on. There you go, right? F6. All right, big deal. He goes after this guy. Your king's going to play around. You know, you got the white king. The white king got to babysit that pass pawn. He's stuck over there. So now your king's going to chop him up on the king's side, right? You're going to chop him up. Here you go. You trade, right? Rook's going to try to harass you from behind. There you go. He's going to try to harass you. You attack him, right? King's an attacking piece in the endgame. All right, you pull him back. All right, you attack that. Look at this now. You attack this guy, right? You attack him. If you attack the D pawn, right? You attack the D pawn with the king. I mean, he doesn't even care at this point. Look at this. He goes in for, all right. If he takes you here, you win this guy, and then you're gonna win him. Forget it. You'll have all these pawns, right? To win. One of them should queen, right, folks? After you take here, if he takes you a check, well, don't you want to go? Oh, you go here to keep your H pawn protected. He wins this guy, you win this guy, right? If you go over here, can he attack this one? Actually, look, if you protect your pawn, he wins. He could win this one. Doesn't matter. He plays this. You protect your H-pawn by gobbling that one. Now you got another pass pawn. He could gobble you up. A big deal. You take. If he passes, oh, what? It's going to be a foot race. Look at this. You're going to win that one too because you're going to queen with check. Right? All right, folks. We'll get back to the game. Look at the evaluation, minus 15.5, right? You don't even get 15 pawns in the beginning of the game. All right, so anyway, there's nothing there, folks, nothing there. We're just being thorough, throwing the ideas out there, right? So there's no check. Move 42. He brings the rook over here. I guess he feels, let's go into defense mode and try to hold the position. He wants to defend the E3 pawn, right? Black, the white king blockades the black C pawn. And he's going to, I don't know, it's defensive, folks. Here we go. Now, king up to F6. Buying time, just moving around. Here comes the rook. You're going to trade, you push the pawn, you're going to trade those pawns off. All right, he protects it. All right, big deal. Here we go. We trade the rook pawns, right, off. We trade on G3, get rid of the rook pawns, right? How else could I say it? So now, all right, the king, let's see. We got, what's that? Move 45. All right, he takes him over here, right? All right, now the knight pawn takes back. Now the knight pawns are gone. All right, so here we go. King coming around the corner, right? Coming around the bend. Here he goes. He attacks. Oh, look at this. There's some, he's going on the offense, right? An attack on the F5 pawn. All right. Let's see. We got, look at that. He defends, right? All right, here comes Harvitz again, attacking the D pawn now. And look at this. Morphy says, all right, gobble that guy up. I don't care. All right, he takes, let's see, does he take that one? Wait a minute, I got to see this straight here. Move 40, what do we got? 47 was rook to A5. Rook up. Rook to A6. Oh, rook down. Okay, he doesn't care. Oh, I see. Rook to C3. Okay, so he lets him take the D pawn, and with check, folks, and with check. All right, so now the king comes up. All right, I had a little wrong. Forgive me. So now the king comes up. He's going to make a run down to that, you know, the light square diagonal to the E3 pawn. So here we go. We got move number 50. Look at this. He brings him down here. He could take the C pawn now too. He's threatening to take it perhaps, but here comes the king coming a little closer. Now if they trade, folks, okay, he can't do it. He can't do that because there you go. The pawn falls. Look at this. Lost endgame right there. It's all over. He takes all over. Game over. You could gobble the other one up. You don't even have to. You could just go right here. You march him right in, right? You march him right in. 1, 2, 3. It's all over. All right? He goes there. You could gobble him up. You got 2. You know, doesn't matter, folks. So white can't trade. Once the king comes up like this, he's too close. That's it. He's going to get to that E pawn. So now Harvitz plays the check. Checks it, comes even closer. Doesn't do anything. All right, so now after that he checked him, right? And now the rook comes up right here attacking this guy. Okay, Morphy brings him back. Hey, why trade, folks? Why trade, right? Why even trade? Actually, look at that. He would check. Hey, look at this. Does it even matter? Look at that. He throws his rook in the garbage just to get the. He's got the. Look at this. He's got the pawn coming down, folks. Nothing he can do, right? If he brings the king up, you queen it, right? The rook's pinning it right now. Nothing he can do. Look, he can't do anything. Let's see if he gives it up. If he takes, right? Okay, he checks. Queen takes. Let's make sure this is right. I mean, Minus 12 pawns. The black king could get up. I guess he's going to take the, he takes the initiative there. See that? The opposition. He takes the opposition. And the white king can't make any progress towards the pawn. See that? And the black one's going to eat him up. He's going to eat up the F pawn. So there you go. The black king's going to win that. If he comes here, doesn't matter either, right? Come up. You attack the pawn, right? Only square to defend the pawn is e5. But look at what happens now, folks. He goes there, as you can see. And now that's it. Zugzwanged in a sense. You'd like to pass. You'd like to say, oh, you go. I'll pass. I don't want to move. But you can't, folks. Not in chess. He's got to get out of there. He's got to abandon the defense of his own F-pawn. And there it is. He gobbles it up. And it's all over. All over. There's another end game. When you got these pawns locked up, whoever gets to this position like that is the winner. Right? You don't want to be the first to get in. You want to be the last when they're like this. That's a position to burn into your brain. Whoever could get there and set this up is the winner. Because the other guy has to back off the defense of his pawn. He can't go here because of your black pawn on F5, right? He controls the E4 square, so he's got to back off. Goodbye, right? Gobble him up. All right, some more endgame study there. So really, after this, after he goes here, he attacks your F pawn, right? All right, and you got Morphy. He just brings the rook back, right? What's white going to do? He protects his F5 pawn with the rook on C5. He's got control of the, protecting his passed pawn on C2. King could go nowhere. White king, right, could go nowhere. What's he going to do? What's Harvard's going to do at this point? His goose is cooked. Here we go. We got the rook. Here we go. The last couple of moves. Rook to H5. King finally, bam, chops him off, right? And now you got the rook, let's see, coming to H4 to protect the remaining pawn. But after this, after the king, let's see, the king just goes over to F3. He's going to push the other guy, perhaps. Let's just finish it out. He could either push or he's going to go and attack the rook on G3, have him move, right? I mean, it's all over, folks. Hey, you give the check, all right, I'll gobble him up. There you go, right? If he, I don't know, if he goes, what's he going to do, folks? He can't even move the king. He's got to move. It's funny. It's like he can't even move the king out of your queen, right? He can't move the king. So actually, by just moving over like this, isn't that funny? He can't even go and he can't even stay and protect his pawn. He's got to move the rook. He can't, like we said before, you can't skip in this game. You can't just pass. You got to move, right? He's got to abandon his pawn. So I don't know. He goes there, I guess, he figures. I don't know why, but either way, right? Whatever you want to do. You gobble him up. Keep it easy, right? You go after him, whatever, you march the other guy down. Let's see, what's gonna happen here? Yeah, you move over. There you go. Now the rook can't even check you. Can't even give you a check. Yeah, let's trade. Let's trade rooks. Why not? There you go. You go right in. You could gobble this one up. Oh, no. Oh, look, I got my other one. All right, there you go, folks, right? Following it to its conclusion, right? We love to do it. We love to see how it ends up. All right, but, for the record, Harvitz resigns after Morphy's king to F3. And there goes game 43 in the history books. There it is, folks. Morphy taking it. He's taken game 3. All right, he's back on track, our hero. Let's see how he can come back and win other games. If he can, folks. Can he do it? I don't know. We're going to have to tune in to find out. All right. I'll see you then. Have a good night.